There's a study, supposedly, I don't know, that's come out saying that if you're 30, a female, and you're single, there's a 70% chance you'll stay that way for life. I'm 29.
Sounds about right to me, to be honest with you.
If you are my future husband, hi, nice to meet you. Where the fuck are you? Get your...
Yeah, okay, that's enough of that. Yo, what is going on, guys? It is Taylor The Fiend back again with another response video, and on today's episode, guys, we are going to be talking about hookup culture and how women are most affected. So this woman has come out here basically, and she's saying that hookup culture is not empowering. Now, literally any man in her life could have told her this the entire time, but she's slowly coming to the realization. But rather than just leave it there, guys, we are going to go ahead and blame men for hookup culture. But guys, before we jump into today's episode, as always, remember to subscribe to our other content creators, Hidan from Peace of Mind and Detective Walk. And if you guys are interested in supporting the channel, make sure you check out the locals link in the video description. But without further ado, let's take a listen to what this woman has to say and see if we can make any sense of it at all.
So as women, are we done pretending like hooking up with men or being intimate with men who don't respect us at all and actually actively dislike us or actively are using us and actively don't have an ounce of a shred of respect or care for us is empowering?
Yeah, so I have a question, okay? If a man doesn't like you, he doesn't want anything to do with you, why is it that you're going out of your way to hook up with him? I think this is one of the most hilarious things that men have been lied to about, right? Because society will tell men that you should go out, you should be lovely, and that the way to a woman's heart is for her to, you know, for you to be nice to her and treat her well. Yet we have an epidemic of modern ladies out here, and I hesitate to use the word ladies, right? Chasing dudes who straight up disrespect them. Okay, and they want to claim as though, oh, they were manipulated into the situation. Really, you mean to tell me that you were manipulated into hooking up with dudes who, in your own words, don't like you? Yeah, makes sense to me.
Are we done pretending like that's empowering or even healthy? Let's throw out empowering. That is not healthy. Are we done pretending like that's healthy?
I mean, literally anybody in your life could have told you that, okay? Your father, if he's around, could have told you that. Your mother could have told you that. Your uncle could have told you that. You know, the local priest could have told you that. Anyone could have told you this, okay? But if a man comes along and says, hey, maybe you shouldn't engage in hookup culture. We're called patriarchal, guys. We're oppressive. And yet these women rock around to 25, 27, 29, and they start to go, oh, wait a minute. Hookup culture isn't good for us, really. It's like the men haven't been telling you this the entire damn time.
Allowing a man who has no respect for you to touch your body is not healthy. Allowing a man who doesn't care about you and actually disrespects you and isn't actually in alignment with your heart, that's actually not healthy. Like, it's actively unhealthy for you. It's actively toxic.
And you know what, guys? I actually agree with this woman. Wholeheartedly, I agree. I think it's very unhealthy. I wouldn't use the word toxic. I think that gets thrown around way too much, right? But it's incredibly unhealthy to form relationships with people who clearly don't have an interest in you, to go out and have casual bedroom fun with people who don't want to commit to you. Of course it's bad. Okay, and this is why I bring up fathers, guys, and this is why father figures are so important in the household. This is why I don't like divorce courts, family law courts. This is why I don't like these things, okay? Because they will remove men from families. You got a whole, this is amazing, okay, guys? You got a whole generation of men and women growing up without fathers. And then we end up with situations like this, where girls rock around to 25 and they're like, you know what? Wait a minute. Maybe it isn't empowering to go hook up with a whole bunch of dudes. It's like, yeah, of course not. You see, fathers are so important in a family, guys, because they teach children a whole bunch of things, one of which is how to have personal boundaries and self-esteem. A lot of dudes are growing up with self-esteem issues and things like that, and of course they do, because their father doesn't teach them how to put in boundaries, because the father oftentimes isn't even there anymore. Okay, bit of a rant there, guys, but you see my point.
Like, be for real. The guy that is giving you all this anxiety, your nerves are all over the place, or even if it's not, you're going and hooking up with this guy, but your desires aren't aligned, right? You want something, he doesn't want that, or even you think you're equally using one another. You think any of that shit is empowering or healthy? Let's throw out empowering. That is not healthy.
Okay, and this is the thing that I have to say about this, guys, is like, women go back to these situations because they're basically like, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are basically like emotional drug addicts, right? They enjoy the highs and the lows. They enjoy the anxiety, the fear of not knowing whether the dude's going to be there the next day or whether he's going to block her. A lot of these girls who are engaging in hookup culture, like the dudes that they're hooking up with are their ex-boyfriends, or they've been blocked by the guy, or the dude actively says that he doesn't want anything to do with her. But she goes there, she goes to his house, and she allows this to happen. She instigates this. I'm sick of this like plausible deniability stuff, guys, where women will engage in hookup culture and then they'll be like, oh, you know, he just paid me compliments, and they'll like gaslight their husbands and their boyfriends and say crap like, oh, he validated me and he was there when you weren't. Meanwhile, their partner's like working their absolute backside off to provide for them and the family. You see what I'm saying? Like where this plausible deniability comes out of the woodwork as if they don't put themselves in those situations. And it's funny, guys, because a lot of these women, they know it's unhealthy, but they just can't help themselves. Right, because they need that next hit of dopamine. Okay, this is why so many of these young ladies, they're addicted to, you know, TikTok, Instagram, all of this crap, guys. It's just ruining their brains with dopamine. So when a nice guy comes along and actually treats her well, it's so boring to her because she's used to all the bull crap that comes along with a guy who literally does not want her.
Of course, it's not empowering, but it's definitely not healthy either. This whole thing with, well, I'm using him back. Well, let's stop using anybody. That's not healthy. That's just a response to your own oppression. That's just
oppression. There's that word again, guys. Oppression. Words like patriarchy get thrown around. All of these words are basically just means to avoid accountability for your own decisions. You see? Like, guys, one of the things that I'm really in favor of with this kind of content, right, is like if you're a dude and you go through a bad experience, it's on you to learn about that bad experience. Like, yes, the person was probably awful, but, you know, it's good to have an outlook of like, okay, I did this wrong. I'm going to avoid this next time, or I'm going to not even engage in this you know what I mean? Like you walk away with some sort of understanding of what you did wrong. But a lot of these girls, they walk away and their whole idea is I'm going to take no accountability, and then they find themselves in the same situation again and expect empathy from people. Like a lot of men in this space, guys, I see dudes talk about like red flags and things they'll avoid, or the things that they wish that they knew, and they'll share information with each other and be like, man, I was a dumbass for going through this situation, or I'll never do this again. Right, and they take accountability for it. But we end up with all these videos of, you know, modern women in their cars, guys, complaining about dudes who mistreat them. And then they just go and do the exact same behavior because they think they have no accountability in it. And the dude oftentimes isn't even mistreating her. He just doesn't want a relationship with her.
Response to feeling unloved and used, and so then you want to do the same thing back. That's not healthy. It's not liberating. It's not a vibe.
Yeah, guys, you know, it's not a vibe. One of the funniest things that I see about this this kind of content, guys, is like just the amount of complaining that goes into it. You know, like you could literally just go and do literally anything else, but instead we're on TikTok complaining about how hookup culture is disempowering, which, by the way, guys, I've always found this super funny. This woman's on here talking about how hookup culture isn't empowering, but all of the women out there, like a lot of these womanists, they'll convince each other that getting with random dudes is empowering and strong. Meanwhile, you got all these men out here, like the top percentage of men, just running through these women, thinking like, yeah, I love empowered women. A lot of these dudes, empowered women, are fantastic for one-night stands, guys. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that so empowering and strong and brave and independent? There certainly seems to me to be a correlation between, you know, girls who do OF, girls who have one-night stands, and being strong and empowered. But what do I know? Let's continue.
Is anyone else?
So this is a different woman, by the way, and as you can see here, she's going to talk to us a rant about the dating culture right now. So let's take a listen to her perspective. Now, I'm going to guess, I can never guess these people's ages, man, because there's just like I don't know, they have like filters on and makeup. You can never really tell, but I'm going to guess she's over 30. Let's take a listen.
I was just getting really tired of British dating culture right now. Like, I'm just really fed up of swiping one way, having meaningless conversation, getting ghosted, then maybe meeting someone, going on a few dates. It feels like it's going in a direction, and then for whatever reason, it stops.
Yeah, for whatever reason, guys. You know, it's never considered that you could be shooting out of your league, or that you feel as though you're entitled to a quality of man that you really have no business trying to keep. Right? This never comes across their minds like, oh, this guy clearly doesn't want a relationship. It's amazing how these individuals will get to 35 years of age. They'll see all of the quote-unquote red flags in a man that doesn't want to commit to them. They'll ignore them, get with the dude, hook up with him, and then complain when he ghosts, as if it wasn't going to happen the whole time. That's like me, guys, going out here and saying, oh, you know what, I'm sick of all these crazy women, and then I just ignore all of the red flags, and I'm surprised when the crazy woman tries to ruin my life. It's like, of course that's going to happen.
And in my case, it's usually because the person isn't over their ex, despite having a conversation about it before, or their dating goals don't align with yours, despite it being on your page and having a conversation. Like, this isn't fun or productive. And I'm fed up with people telling me to lower my standards, because my standards aren't to do with anything physical, like how tall you are or how you look. My standards are how you treat me, and if you make me laugh and you make me happy and we...
Bullcrap. Guys, I like, whenever a girl says this, like, my standards are about the morals of a man, the character of a man, the integrity, whether or not he makes me laugh. This is just absolute lies, man. It really absolutely is. If you're a dude and your whole perspective is to come along and to make her laugh, and that's like your way of getting her to like you, I'm sorry to tell you, my guy, but that is, you know, that's not a very good strategy. Okay, don't let girls try and sell you this idea like, oh yeah, I'm just looking for a guy who's nice and a guy who's funny. A lot of guys are nice. A lot of guys are absolutely hilarious. Okay, but those same men, a lot of them are completely and utterly alone. So make those two things make sense to me.
You follow the same kind of values in life. I don't think that's too much to ask, but apparently it is.
If you are, and I'll say this again, guys, if you're a woman and you're over the age of 30 and you haven't found your long-term relationship, you haven't found your marriage, you know, your husband, that's on you. And yes, it does have a great deal to do with your standards. Just because you don't think that it has anything to do with your standards doesn't mean that it doesn't. Okay? Guys, I've made this point so many damn times. But it'd be really interesting to see, right? If we had access to this woman's dating profile and we compared her dating profile against the average man, you would see such a disgusting discrepancy, and yet she's unable to find anything. Isn't that amazing, right? She'll go out on dates, she'll say that dating is so difficult, but if we compare that to the average man, the opportunities that she has is not even close. And what she does is she picks like the top percentage of dudes, and she'll go, yeah, I'll go on a date with that one and that one and that one, right? But these are dudes who are not interested in committing to her because they have access to other women who are not going to be quite the headache and who are not going to be 30 plus years of age coming along with baggage and expecting, you know, a future.
And just to top it off, there's a study, supposedly, I don't know, that's come out saying that if you're 30, a female, and you're single, there's a 70% chance you'll stay that way for life.
Mm.
I'm 29.
Sounds about right to me, to be honest with you.
If you are my future husband, hi, nice to meet you. Where the fuck are you? Get your...
Yeah, okay, that's enough of that. All right, guys, so let's continue into today's Reddit story because I am quite sick of these videos here. All right, so let's jump into this Reddit story and we will wrap up today's episode. So this Reddit story is titled, you guys can't see this, but it's titled, Stay-at-Home Mother Keeps Gravitating Over to a Neighbor, Laughing and Talking. So here we have a couple who has been together for 7 years, married for 3, and the wife is showing signs of infidelity. So let's take a read. Our daughter, who is a 3-year-old female, will scream and scream to continue their walk, but my wife, who is a 35-year-old female, ignores her and will keep chatting and laughing with this guy who is a 28-year-old male. He's been renting a basement across from us for a couple of months now. Single and jobless, he hangs out on the porch. While I, a 36-year-old male, am at work, my wife will see that he's there and go out to talk to him or invite him over to talk and to hang out. Once I came home to an empty house and found my family hanging out on his porch. I walked up, conversation stops, a little small chit chat, and my wife says, "Oh, we should get going." She was there for 2 hours. Now, guys, I always feel the need to, when I'm going through these stories, to just point out that infidelity has already happened. Okay, and when we're talking about things like, oh, men shouldn't be jealous and men are toxic for being jealous, like, guys, the infidelity has already happened, and this guy's family is essentially already going over to some other random dude from the other side of the street. But you'll hear so many womanists come along and say, you know what, you're just overthinking things, you silly man. You should just accept things the way they are, not try and control your woman, despite the fact that your wife is talking to some 28-year-old male stranger across the street with your daughter. Let's continue. The pandemic and lockdowns have been hard. She doesn't laugh or joke with me anymore, and when I try to lighten the mood, she is very serious and tells me that I'm not funny. I have not been in this situation before. I'm feeling overreactive, like my wife is ready to cheat or something. She's already cheated, bro. I brought up my insecurities with my wife last night, and we talked it out. Says he is like a male version of her, like he is her mirror, similar upbringing and trauma, mental health issues, etc., and that she gets along really, really easily with him, and that she's scared of how easy it is talking to this guy, and that she hopes that he moves away in January, as that is his plan. I communicated that, appreciated her being open and honest with me. I think that last bit just clicked into my brain now. What happens if he doesn't move away? Does she have no self-control? Now I'm more worried. Might be time to line up some marriage counseling. So guys, let's break down this situation, okay? And this ties into the hookup culture chat that we were just having about, okay? If you're going out here and you're deciding to seriously date, number one, terrible move. Number two, do not wife up a woman with mental health issues and trauma and one who treats you like dirt. Okay, because this is basically asking for you to take half of your, you're basically asking this woman to take half of your crap and to take your kid away from you and go see some random dude. Okay, and this guy's like, we don't know too much about this particular situation here, but if you're talking about impulsivity and the ability to not control seeing other people, you could definitely be dealing with someone who has BPD, which many of the dudes in the comments, if you've watched this far, you probably know what that is. It's borderline personality disorder, and these individuals are actually straight up evil. Even though they do have a mental illness, BPD people are just really awful to their partners oftentimes. But guys, whenever stuff like this happens, society will try and tell men that it's the strong and appropriate thing to do to stay in that relationship and to ignore any red flags. Guys, I am not someone who advocates for ignoring red flags. We have seen too many men ignore red flags and have their families taken from them, or ignore red flags and have half, if not all, of their possessions taken from them. So I don't care how much gaslighting comes from womanists saying that you should just go through and believe your wife in situations like this, guys. The woman is over at this dude's basement house porch thing, and he's just some random dude across the street. Absolutely not. So let's take a read of some of these comments before we wrap up today's episode. I probably don't need to tell you this, says Anything We Synthesize, but this part is a huge red flag. Your wife is already attracted to this man and shifting the blame away from herself by verbalizing this and putting it on this stranger to move away in order to prevent it from escalating. You need to lay down and enforce some boundaries ASAP. I'm in a relationship and got a crush on a woman. What I did immediately was told my partner. The partner said duh, and two partners said they liked her too. Blah, blah, blah. Continuing on. Sounds like she's having an emotional affair, says Dylan Haight here. The displacement of blame onto him is alarming, as well as her acknowledgement of her complete lack of agency. Saying that she hopes he moves away implies she cannot control herself. She's basically preparing herself for "I warned you" in an argument. It's like when guys cheat and they claim they were seduced by the other woman, as if they had no responsibility or control of their own actions. It's also a subtle way for you to redirect your mental focus onto him instead of her on her own behavior. Like, now you're supposed to be worrying about this guy and what he's up to, what his plans are, when he's moving, etc. So when the affair goes down, it's not she cheated, it's he manipulated their friendship. What's especially concerning is her ignoring you, your screaming child for hours just to talk to this guy. That is completely inappropriate. And guys, I'll say this about the particular situation as well. these things are made much more complicated by the fact that there's a child. I would still advocate for leaving the relationship, but it just really sucks when there's children involved, because the whole family dynamic is going to have to be torn apart, because whoever in the particular relationship might be cheating. It's really, really unfortunate for the child more than anything. If she's starving for friendship, she can get a hobby or join some local groups or find a therapist or go out with some girlfriends or literally anything other than hang out at the next door single guy's house. I would make it clear that it's not okay. You aren't okay with this. She's crossing boundaries into inappropriate emotional affair territory. I love how these people are saying this as if she hasn't already cheated. Like, I think there's a very high possibility that she's already cheated here. Make it clear you recognize her as a grown woman with her own agency, and this is a choice she is continually deciding to make. Tell her whether he moves or not is irrelevant. If she feels that something is missing from her life, that she needs to explore that within the confines of the monogamous boundaries that you have agreed to. Ask her how she would feel if she found out you've been skipping work to go hang out with a single woman for hours and hours and having deep, emotionally intimate conversations with another woman that she doesn't know. The key here is this was not an established friendship prior to the relationship. I do believe people in relationships can have opposite gender friends, but there should be an established platonic relationship, and those friends should also be respectful of that relationship. Guys, I absolutely hate situations like this, particularly when children are involved, because the real losers in this situation, the people who lose out the most, are the children when the family dynamic breaks down and the parents have to separate. But guys, we're going to be leaving today's episode there. Let us know what you think of some of the things that we've covered here today. Hookup culture, lack of accountability, and today's last Reddit post. But gentlemen, we're going to be leaving it there. Make sure that you subscribe to our other content creators, Hidan from Peace of Mind and Detective Warg. But otherwise, gentlemen, make sure you take care of yourselves, and I'll be seeing you all in the next episode. Peace.